In hip-hop, beef between artists has always been the central part of the culture. From how they fuel the genre's competitive spirit to how they ignite heated discussion between fans, two rappers clashing at the height of their careers is something that we expect to see at this point. AKA was one rapper that embraced beef and used it into his advantages in most cases. Throughout his record-breaking, chart-topping career, no rapper has found themselves in many beefs as AKA. From jealousy rivals to fellow rappers, producers and media people, AKA has been in the midst of all kinds of drama, sometimes coming up on top and other times becoming the laughingstock of the rap world. In this video, we're gonna take a look at every AKA beef. We will mainly focus on beefs within the music industry. We won't be focusing more on the personal stuff. Now, without further ado, let's get started with this video. The first beef that we're gonna take a look at is AKA versus Tido. The beef between AKA and Tido began in 2009 when AKA went on Facebook to publicly disrespect Tido while also commenting on a song which featured Blacklez, Bongani Fassie and Mags. This sent SA hip-hop scene into a buzz. Radio stations and music sites couldn't get enough, with both artists that were both new to the scene were the topic of discussion all over the country. They were scheduled to battle live, but Tido did not show up to the battle. I don't know if AKA released a diss track towards Tido, but Tido did drop a song called Black Suit, which was aimed at AKA. You can check it out on YouTube. They have since made peace with each other and collaborated on each other's album. AKA's last interview before his sudden death was with Tido, where they talk about how their beef was not that deep. It was based on music rivalry more than anything else. The second beef that we're gonna take a look at is AKA versus Blacklez. For non-rap fans or people who started listening to SA hip-hop at its peak, this may come as a surprise that AKA was beefing with Blacklez. But yeah, during 2010, AKA was beefing with then up-and-coming Pretoria rapper Blacklez. When searching on the internet, I couldn't find the main reason they were beefing, but I remember they had a beef. Both rappers released diss track aimed at each other, with AKA dropping See Me Coming and Blacklez dropping Good Night. Their disses were recorded on the same instrumental. Both diss tracks were dope, but I think Blacklez killed AKA on that one. His diss track was more lyrically laid back and it had a lot of hard-hitting facts, while AKA's diss track was more about bragging about his achievements as he was a bigger artist than Blacklez and achieved a lot in the music industry. If anyone remembers how their beef actually started, please tell us in the comment section. Speaking about rivalries, our next beef that we're gonna take a look at is AKA versus iFani. In 2014, AKA's record label Fifth Season signed a licensing deal with Sony Music Entertainment. At the time, iFani was Sony's cash cow, dropping hits back to back. Their beef started when iFani released his second studio album and went gold on the first day. AKA tweeted that iFani's album was bought by Reds, who was the main sponsor for their campaign. This was followed by a series of other tweets which brought negativity to iFani's campaign, and media publications started to question if iFani really sold 20,000 copies or they were bought by Reds then given away to fans. In 2017, AKA dissed iFani on Gemini Major's song called Right Now. A few months after the dust has settled, iFani went on a 6-year hiatus before coming back as a featured artist on Big Xhosa's single in mid-2020. In the song with Big Xhosa, he dissed AKA, but AKA never responded. Recently, iFani was featured on Bravo Leroux's song called Amakwenkwe, where he addressed the beef with AKA. He says on this verse that his beef on AKA was based on music industry politics, but behind the scenes, they met and shown each other appreciation of each other's talents. Now, let's move on to his most famous beef. The beef between AKA and Cassper is one of the most long-standing and exciting beef of all times. It's our South African version of Biggie vs Tupac. In 2014, during the height of Dog Shebeleza, Nyovest tweeted that the song was the biggest in the country. Although he was right, AKA did not agree with him. He claimed that his song Congratulate was bigger as it was number 1 on iTunes, opposed to Cassper's Dog Shebeleza, which was doing well as a free download on Datafile Host. Cassper released 3 diss tracks aimed at AKA, while AKA retaliated with 1 diss song. According to Cassper, them not getting well was because Cassper refused to give AKA a verse on his song Kusheshe. From there, everything went south. Their beef helped catapult Cassper into the mainstream, as he was beefing with one of the biggest artists in the country, and him being the underdog played to his advantage. At the height of their beef, Nyovest was playing humble, which a lot of South Africans favored. AKA, on the other side, was constantly being criticized for his arrogance. As much as Cassper had hits, a lot of people gravitated towards him for his persona. His story was that of a young kid from Mahikeng with dreams who started with nothing. Towards the passing of AKA, a lot of fans were gravitating towards AKA as his music was getting better with time, opposed to Cassper, who was seen as an opportunist. This beef showcased AKA's ability to clap back under pressure and cemented himself as someone you don't want to mess with unless you are the next person on this list, which is Black Coffee. Black Coffee slapped AKA's team members in late 2016 at an event. Tensions then escalated. AKA and Black Coffee beef evolved on social media when Black Coffee won a Channel O award and AKA tweeted that, "Give Black Coffee a hand." Black Coffee said he didn't know AKA at that point and that tweet made him upset. He says that the following day he looked for him and called him and spoke to him on the phone. He added that he asked the rapper man to man if there was a problem between them that he was oblivious to. AKA apparently said that the tweet was taken out of context and that there was no malicious intent behind it, and Black Coffee accepted his apology. In 2019, AKA performed at Black Coffee's show, and when asked about the beef, he said that he is a different person now than he was back in 2017. During the height of SA hip hop, one person that shook the game was Bongani Fassie with his song Stretcher, which dissed AKA, Cassper, Tido, and many other South African rappers. For years, AKA did not respond to this beef, but later dissed Bongani Fassie in Tido's song Tido, where he clowned him about his drug use. When it comes to beef, AKA was brutal and inconsiderate sometimes. In 2016, he lashed out on producer Tweezy for claiming some of his success. AKA and Tweezy used to be best friends, with Tweezy producing several of AKA's songs on his 2014 album, Levels. Between 2015 and 2016, Tweezy was transitioning into a rapper. When doing interviews, he would talk about how he produced hits such as Run Josie, Baddest, and All Eyes on Me by AKA. He was also behind a campaign called Producers Must Rise, which was aimed at raising awareness for producers. AKA did not like the fact that Tweezy was talking about how he produced his songs on each and every single interview. He took to Twitter to attack the producer. On a series of tweets, he said that Tweezy did not produce some of his songs but only made drums. He insulted Tweezy and told him to stop claiming some of his shit. A year later, the explosive social media beef, they reunited and worked on AKA's Touch My Blood album. But this was not the first time AKA had a beef with someone close to him. In fact, in 2016, his diss track Composure, aimed at Cassper Nyovest, also sent some shots to Anati. AKA and Anati had a close working relationship, and things took a turn when Anati allegedly charged AKA 80,000 for a beat. Instead of paying Anati for his beat, AKA memorized the progression of the chords and he recreated the beat by himself. Then he dissed Anati and Cassper on the same song. Although Anati never responded, they quickly squashed their beef in 2017 and they released a collaborative album together. The last beef that we are going to take a look at is AKA versus Burna Boy. When Burna Boy decided to briefly relocate to South Africa from his native Nigeria in an attempt to penetrate a new market, he quickly forged a relationship with AKA. The pair would go on to collaborate on 3 songs, All Eyes on Me, Baddest, and Paid. But in 2019, their relationship soured when they had a bitter social media beef around the xenophobic attacks in South Africa that saw many foreign nationals, shops and properties looted and burned. In the midst of the tension around the attacks, Burna called aka retarded and threatened violence if they ever crossed paths. Aka and Burna Boy never resolved their beef. After AKA's passing, Burna Boy addressed him in a song saying that although they were not on the same page, he did not want him to die. The song received bad reviews from South African music fans. So there you have it. There is every single aka beef in his career, but what you can take away from all this beef is that when you're at the top, everyone is always gonna come for you. While aka has been embarrassed a couple of times in his career, most of the times he's been able to edge out rappers even when he's not lyrically doper than them. For Wave Entertainment, I am KapiTeezy. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comment section which beef was your favorite by aka, and if he was alive, do you think he was still gonna create more beef with other musicians?